everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Joey Evans.
I'm Mike DeLisio.
So today we're talking a bit about Ostia, which is a game from how do you pronounce her name?
Uchibakoya.
Uchibakoya. And also taking a brief look at the pirate expansion. And then there's a couple other small expansions. But Ostia is a game that Mike reviewed
Over a year ago on the channel.
Yeah, well over a year ago, and no one else.
Nope.
No
we
one
didn't
else
care
even
about
looked at it. No one else had it was the problem.
No one else knew it existed. It was me and the designer, and I think maybe the publisher knew about it.
Publisher didn't even know about it.
That's true.
So anyway, Mike said it was good, of course, and we all ignored him, of course. No, I was actually interested because he kept pushing it. He kept saying it's really good.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it's hard to find. And it was hard to find.
Yes.
Recently, Crafty Games has announced they're bringing this to America, so you'll have a chance to get it soon. But they also ran another Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And so got the expansion and the base game. So we've been able to play it. So let's start with the base game. Before I show the expansion, if you want to know how the base game plays, Mike's review will be linked in the description below so you can see how the base game plays.
Yeah.
But where are you at with the base game?
I believe I gave it a 9 when I reviewed it, and if it changed at all, it went to a 9.5. I would say let's just keep it at a 9, but I still think this game is amazing.
Okay.
All right. I'm closer to a 9.5.
Well, if you go to a 9.5, you're not going to go above me.
I'm at 9 and 9.5. I do have to commit.
I did about the garbage. I'm giving this a straight 10.
Oh, 9.5 for me.
You know
then.
what? Yeah, 9.25.
No, listen, this game, I played
agree.
in the past week, I played this game 5 times.
You really have. You play like 3 times in one day, which
did.
is unheard of for you.
It's that good of a game.
It is.
It's so smooth, and it didn't hurt the deluxe components that came with the new edition and everything.
Right.
But I played it so much. It's so fun. This is a game that it crosses that boundary of I can see people like big heavy games enjoying it, but it's not that hard to teach and play. It's
really not.
Fairly straightforward.
I think you hit it with smooth. It is that Mancala movement and then everything, different paths to victory that all make sense. And you find yourself at the end wanting to go again and try something else. And that Mancala, I love that puzzle of I can't get where I need to go. And it's like, how many turns? And will I waste those turns or will I profit from those turns a bit and eventually get to where I really ultimately need to go? I mean, just that. And then it doesn't cause AP either because you can think about it as everyone else moves. They still affect your turn, but not as much.
But you barely affect other people's turns. You give them a coin by building where they're building.
Or the tokens get taken and things like that.
There's a race element to getting the best stuff, and at those end points, those destination tiles, the first one's going to get the best version of that.
Yes.
So of course, what you want it to feel like a race because that's exactly what you're doing. You're moving your ships and trying to get to the destinations before everybody else and make the best trades along the way. All those nice little thematic things, but there's certain elements of this game that I love and have only grown over time. One is the way that your board works, your personal board, because it's similar to Trajan. The designer has said himself that Trajan was an inspiration for this game, and you can see the roots, the DNA in there. But where the Mancala puzzle in Trajan, though brilliant, it's a lot more restrictive than it is here.
Right. Yes.
Here it is not as restrictive. You may not always be able to do exactly what you want to do, but what you end up doing is still going to be good, right? And there were certain times in Trajan where you're just like, well, that's kind of like a wasted turn,
Yeah.
That can still happen here where I'm like, I'm taking 2 wood.
Sure.
Then I don't even get an action.
But you're not building 4 turns in a row. You know what I mean? You may have had to do that, but you know your next turn is going to be solid because likely you made that move for the wood to build up for the next turn.
Yes.
So I like that a lot. The other thing is the executive action, right? The one that lets you take 2 actions.
Yeah.
Now,
I like that.
When I would teach that, and sometimes even after a first game had been played, there would be people that say, I think that's broken, right? And I'd say, okay, you're entitled to that opinion, but just play it a couple more times.
Yeah.
You mean they think it's broken that it's good or bad?
They think it's too strong. Even though you're not producing any resources, they think it's too strong because you are able to essentially double up actions. Situationally, as it should
but you don't
be,
get the resources,
it can be
so
it can be very powerful, but it's not. It's again, it's a situational thing. You can pull off some amazing turns with that executive action, but not always.
No.
Sometimes it just means you're moving an extra spot.
Exactly.
You know what
Sometimes
I mean?
you kind of bust because that second action you can't get.
You can't really do much of anything with.
Yeah.
And another quick little thing, a brilliant design decision, I think, was the fact that even with 0 parchments, the resource you need to move, you can still always move one space. Yep. If you had made it so you couldn't move at all,
I love that.
That would have been, honestly, would have made the game a lot worse.
I agree.
All right, well, I'm going to show you a quick overview of the Pirates expansion, and we'll be right back. In this game, everyone's going to get a sideboard that sits next to your main board. And a couple things are going to happen here. You have a new resource, swords, which you can buy when you're at the trading area. You can see the cost. 6 would give me 4 swords. You can always take 1 for free. You also, at any time of your turn, can buy legionnaires. You see they have a cost here. 2 swords, 2 wood, 2 food, etc. And when you buy them, you put a legionnaire here. Now, legionnaires are a couple things. 1, they count as a permanent sword that you always have. So if I have 2 legionnaires, I would have 2 swords plus whatever swords I want to spend from here. And you'll use swords to fight pirates. Also, as the game progresses, you'll be collecting treasure chests, and the number of legionnaires you have shows you the point value of treasure chests at the end of the game. Also, you have disgrace cubes that you can get. Disgrace cubes are worth points at the end of the game, -7 points, but you can pay 7 coins to get rid of a disgrace cube. Now, players are going to start the game with disgrace cubes because you're going to start with 2 of these tiles. You'll draw 2 from each pile here. And as you look at these, they're your home city and supporters. One of them will have something to do with final scores. Like this one here, each treasure chest is worth extra victory points, equal to the number of these tokens on the coastal area. This one, when I take an honor card, I can redeem once. Redeeming is getting rid of one of these cubes. And honor cards worth an extra 8 points at the end of the game. So these are all about endgame scoring. These are special abilities. Here, I get 2 extra charter ships that I can start with on the board. This one gives me a disgrace cube as a free action, but then I get to take one of these actions over the course of the game. Some of these don't give you any cubes at the beginning of the game, so it's up to you to decide which of these actions you want. So one gives you a special ability, a special action. The other gives you some endgame scoring, but you'll combine them together, and you'll start with that many disgrace cubes. There's also an extra board for buildings. Whenever you build a building, instead of placing it on your main board, you can pay an additional cost and put it here, which is going to give you these, which are randomly placed at the beginning of the game. There's more than you need. And this, for example, gives me an extra ship icon. The extra 2 of those icons. Treasure chests are now worth an extra victory point. It gives me a treasure chest. Get rid of a disgrace cube, etc. So there's just another spot that you can put buildings on. At the beginning of the game, you're going to be placing some pirate ships at various spots on the board, as is shown here. We have different types of pirate ships that you'll have. They each have a different color sail that you'll be placing. And when a player enters those ports, they can't enter those ports unless they fight the pirate ships. And to fight those pirate ships, they need swords. If there's black sails, it's always going to cost 2 swords. Remember, a legionnaire is a permanent sword that you would have. And if it's the red pirate, those swords are going to increase. They start at 4 but go up to 6. Whenever you fight a pirate, if you fight one of the black pirates and defeat it, you'll take a treasure chest. And if you fight the red one, you'll take 2. And you start by just going across the board like this. If you take a treasure chest where it shows a black cube like this, then you can get rid of one of your disgrace cubes. When the last of these is taken before a line, this token here becomes active. And this just shows whoever has the most lions will get rid of one of their disgrace cubes, and whoever has the fewest lions will lose one of their, will get another disgrace cube, and then everyone gets 1 coin for every treasure chest they have. And they're always like that. There's some sort of thing. Most and least will get something, but then everyone gets a coin for every treasure chest that they have. So this is it. This is going to slow down the progression because you can't get to these end spots until you pass these pirate ships. But that's basically what this pirate expansion adds. Before we jump into this expansion, I will mention that there's a couple minor expansions out there, and one, if you can get it, is worth it, in my opinion, just because it adds more stuff. It adds 3 more destination tiles, which kind of shakes up where you're going.
Sure.
Yeah.
It adds in more ports, so there's more things out there, and there's one that has like these secret goals that you can accomplish that no one else can.
Yeah.
Right.
So Pirates adds a lot. The rule book is really clear. This is not a modular expansion. There's no part of it you can really or you really should use by itself. We briefly talked about, could we use just the buildings? And you could, but you would need to take out any buildings that refer to the treasure chests or the disgrace cubes. So, but I will say that's the easiest part of this game to teach. I'm like, there's a new spot to put buildings, and they look amazing.
Yep.
And they're great. But you're also not putting them on your board, and you're like, oh, I'm not getting +1 resource here anymore.
You're right.
Yeah.
But the biggest change by far really is just whole new system here. It's kind of a funky system. So let's take it in chunks. First, you get the special abilities. You get 2 special abilities at the beginning of the game. 1 scoring, 1 special ability during the game. And they give you these disgrace tokens, which are negative points. And I'll say anytime a game does that right out the bat, I don't like it. I don't like the negative aspect.
I gotcha.
I would not mind it as much if it was a choice I could make. But even if you take the one set of special tiles has at least 2 on every tile. So you will start minimum with 2.
Sure.
But you could start with 6 or more.
You're going to get a banging power for that, but yes.
Yes. But that's my other complaint about this game, and maybe I'm just not smart enough at it. But one of the things that gives you the ability of adding the 2 extra ships in your thing, it costs 2 black cubes, and I think that's OP. I'm sorry. I played with that, and I just walked over my opponents with those extra ships.
Yeah, I can't speak to that. I mean, I know I've played with that power, but it wasn't something that caught my attention. So I'm not saying you're right or wrong. It just never even really came up.
But I didn't like the one time, and we reshuffled actually, where I got 2 that had 4 black cubes, and I was like, I don't want to deal with these. And I thought some of the special scoring things, they're like, you're going to score this way. I'm like, but I didn't feel like doing that this game. I don't know that I love those, but what I really don't like, and my dislike of it is a mild irritation compared to his thoughts on it.
Oh my goodness! Okay.
What I really don't like are those just the negative cubes and the work it takes to get rid of them. Yes, 7 gold. But this game already has given me other ways to spend gold on swords and stuff, so that's expensive and hard to do. Yes, I could get a treasure chest at a very specific time. I despise that rule a lot, where like if you take that specific treasure chest, you get 1 off. It's not like it's harder to get than any other one. It just happens to be there when it's my turn.
Sure.
That's too good. So I dislike that. Not enough that I don't like the whole expansion, but I didn't like that part. You liked it, though.
I did not. Okay, here's the thing. I don't know if the powers are balanced, right? I'm not sure, because like the extra ships, you're off running. And there was one that gave you 4 cubes, and I'm like, well, that power is not great, So it's like, get 4 cubes. Now, the cubes itself, that gives you kind of busy work. Those are the turns that you feel like, I have to do this. I do not like games that kind of make you just do that. Everything else with the base Ostia is exciting. Everything you're doing, you're like, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, look at this. I can't wait for my next turn. And then you're like, my next turn, I'm going to pay off this debt that I was just given because of, the way those tiles dropped. I don't like that. And then I think the Pirates, you mentioned it was a race before. The Pirates are there to go, okay, everybody, let's slow down.
Right.
So I'm like, because now maybe it's my strategy in the base. I was loving this because I was like cranking through every path. Now the Pirates make me slow things down. They kind of
straight up make the game longer.
Yes.
That is a fact.
So in theory, I liked them, but execution.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying there's an overarching theme that you guys have been mentioning that I was going to bring up, right? Which is that this expansion, not every expansion for a game fundamentally changes the experience of the game. This does, right? So it's gonna take a game that was about racing and feeling abundant, and that's all gone now, right? Yeah. Because you're dealing with corruption, you're dealing with pirates that'll get in your way, you're dealing with more kind of more of this pull on your resources, right? Where in the base game, you pretty much know I'm using these stone to build buildings. I'm using this wood to build ships. I'm getting these parchment to go further. Here, now it's like you said, okay, well, I've got gold, and that's one way to get rid of this, but there's also these other things I really want gold for, right? That's why they're there, you know? And so it changes it from a game of forward movement to restriction. And I think that that's going to make it so it's going to take a game that has very wide appeal and make it much more niche appeal. Who might like this expansion? Who might like this experience of the game? I would say people that maybe it's a little bit more interactive, I think, and could be meaner. So maybe. The one thing, and I'll tell you, I'm kind of on board. I'm hearing what you guys are saying here. There's will I ever choose to play with the expansion over just the base game? Probably not, honestly. Yeah. But the one thing I think it does do better is that it makes the trade action more substantial and more interesting.
See, that's what I was going to say. And I actually might play with this expansion. You guys know what I'm getting into.
If I'm teaching someone, I'm not going to put the expansion.
Oh, no, because it's too much.
I misspoke. I should have said, if I'm teaching this for the first time, I'm never going to put the expansion in there. Sorry.
But it felt like what they did is they looked at the base game and they're like, okay, where are the weak points? The trade action is the least interesting action. It just is. Yeah. And I mean, it's still useful. Don't get me wrong. Absolutely. I like it. But now the trade action, when you add the pirates in, you're like, I want to trade. There's so much about that wanting to trade.
Yeah.
And they also were like, people just running their ships down. I played Ostia, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 times now, whatever. And I would say the vast majority of times it has ended from someone getting 3 ships to the end. So they were like, we'll slow that down. And I don't even hate the slow down per se. The buying the swords, I find that really interesting. The buying the legionnaires is fun. And getting treasure chests is fun. But it's just that you get treasure chests and suddenly it's now, who has the most ships? I'm like, well, that's not what I'm working towards.
Yeah.
And now I suddenly have a black cube. And it's that part I didn't like as much. It's kind of... I wish this was a modular expansion, but it said it wasn't. I was like, oh, man, because parts of it, I like the treasure chests. I just don't love those cubes. And it's going to change how you play it. Now, if you played Ostia 30 times,
right.
This is going to give you more stuff.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned buying the Swords of Legionnaires is fun. I think it's fine. I think it's like you buy the Legionnaires, you're like, I'm going to spend 3 of everything. It was like, be much more exciting to use that for what they were initially for in the base game. Get ships, get buildings, get all that. That's the flow that I really have grown to love.
Did you like the new buildings?
The new buildings were good. I actually used them more than I think about on the table because I thought that's a fun little addition. You know,
it is
to drop them there. I mean, I feel the drain when I'm like, I wish I would have had that +1 here. But it was a choice I made to get that initial 2 badges moving up or whatever. I did like that.
And the interesting thing is that I really do kind of like those buildings, but it takes from one of my favorite mechanisms in the base game, which is that when you do, put your disc at a port, you get one of those buildings, and you get to choose, and you can upgrade one of your action spots. I think that's just so smart.
Well, it is, but now you can also put it there.
I know.
You just don't get to upgrade that.
You don't get the upgraded action. So yeah, this is a tricky one because there are elements of it that I like quite a bit, but again, I wouldn't introduce this in the first couple of plays. I
agree.
I wouldn't. I think it really is for people that have played this a bunch and really like that Moncala system and like, elements of the game but want a completely different experience because it really does. It creates a completely different experience.
It does.
Okay, so you said the original game is like a 9, 9.5.
I go, yeah.
And the expansion?
As we talk about it, about 9.5 for this. This one, I'm probably at a 6. I don't imagine ever playing this again unless people are like, I really want to play with the Pirates. I think this game is virtually perfect. I think it flows. It's fantastic. I get excited. I work it out in my mind before I play. This is a pattern I'm going to go for. I love this.
That's true.
It's fine.
Ostia is set up in such a way that sitting down, I can be like, today I'm going to do this.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. I don't have to look at my cards and be like, ooh, that's not in a position. I'm in. Even your starting ships.
Oh, that's,
is you could go by that, but yeah. I'll give Pirates a 6.5. I don't dislike a lot. I dislike little pieces of it, but overall, it feels like a variant, which is what it is, right?
Yeah.
But it feels like when I play a game like, okay, today I'm going to try this variant. We tried. I'm like, it was fine. But I don't know that I would buy it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I love the chests, and the pirate ships
are great.
amazing.
The components are through the chart, off the charts.
They're fantastic, and it does. It changes the game more than most expansions do.
It really does.
Which I think there's going to be people out there, you can say in the comments, that you think that this is one of the best. That the game is better with it. I think there's going to be a lot of people who think that.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
I like the game as is. More stuff is fine. Even some minor modular things, and some of the stuff here I like more than others. I like the pirates. I like the treasure chests. I don't like the results of the treasure chests, the events.
Yeah.
And I don't like the disgrace
corruption.
cubes.
Yeah,
you know, or I wouldn't mind them if I had more of a choice on when to take them.
Sure.
Like if it was like take a corruption cube to add a ship to your thing, I'd be like, oh, that's a tough choice.
Yeah,
right. I don't have that as much, but so 6.5 for me.
Man, this is so hard for me. I'm settling on a 6.5 as well because this is going to sound really odd, but it's really the way I feel. If I liked the base game less, I would like the expansion more.
Yes.
Oh yeah, okay.
Does that make sense?
I like that. Yeah.
The fact that, like Joey said, I feel like there's almost nothing about Ostia I don't like, and I'll tell you the truth. I mean, it could creep to a 10 to me very easily. I just love this experience so much that even though there are some merits to that, there are some things that are very interesting. I definitely like what it does with the trade action. I like the buildings, but I don't want you messing with my baby here.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want you messing with the game that I love so much. As weird as that sounds.
Yes.
But yeah, for my play styles, it's Ostia. I will certainly play with pirates if they want to play with it. I would never be like, oh, you're playing with that? I'm not playing. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But it's never going to be my preferred way to play the game.
Well, there you go, folks. That's Ostia, its expansion, and more. I'm Tom Vassell,
I'm Joey Evans.
I'm Mike Delisio.
and we're shipping. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.